alone, there's probably maybe 10 other expat families out of, 200 different homes. So we're kind of more intermixed with the local community. So it really depends on your personal preference.
Yeah.
But it is easy to find expats pretty much everywhere you go. There's always a hangout. There's a happy hour, place to watch sunset if you're at the beach. There's local coffee shops. There's maybe a Saturday morning breakfast. The expat Facebook groups, again, are a great tool for meeting people because they'll announce these different events that are going on, fundraisers, parties, all sorts of different stuff going on.
Sounds good. So, Jason, talk a little bit about what's involved in getting a residence visa and how long that can take, depending on what country you're in. I'm sure that it matters, but just talk a little bit, because you were saying once you're a resident, you can do this, this, and this. How long does it take to get that residence visa?
Sure. So generally, residence visas, each country has different requirements. Generally, you have to show some sort of income or savings in the bank. And most of these countries just want you to show that you can support yourself if you move to this place. Makes sense, right? The process itself, you have to turn in things like copies of your passports. You have to show that proof of income, like bank statements or investments or social security statements. If you're married, your marriage license, maybe birth certificates, other official documents. You turn all that stuff in with some application forms. Maybe there's an in-person interview at a consulate or the immigration office in this country. And the process can take months to a year or more, kind of depending on the country or what type of visa you're getting. I've done the residence visa process in 2 countries, Costa Rica and Mexico. Costa Rica took me about 10 months to get my residence visa once I had all my stuff turned in. In Mexico, it took about 3 months. So it can take, different times, depending on where you are. And to give you an idea about the income requirements, Costa Rica, for example, they have a pensionado visa, which is a retirement visa. And they require you to have at least $1,000 per month in income from Social Security or a pension or some other kind of government guaranteed source. Spain, on the other hand, is about double that per month to get a pensionado visa in Spain, a retirement visa.
So what are you doing in the meantime? Are you just renting a place while you're waiting for your visa? How does that work from the time you arrive to you get your residence visa? How do you fill in the time and what happens?
Yeah, but generally, when you're waiting for your residence visa, they give you some sort of proof that you've applied. So you can legally stay in the country beyond what your tourist visa allows. So that's something. And generally, you can't really leave the country until you get your actual visa. There are some exceptions to that. Maybe you have to fill out a certain paperwork or get special permission to leave the country. Basically, you want to find a place to live. Rental is a great option. Rentals allow you to kind of try out life in this new location to see if it's right for you, because you can always leave your rental if you don't like it when your lease expires. And if you do plan to buy eventually, renting lets you get to know the local real estate market. So you can figure out what a fair price is. You can figure out the best neighborhoods and locations if you do decide to buy later.
Yes, I always recommend to people when they're moving to rent first, or at least take an Airbnb for a month and try it out, because it's too expensive to buy and then hate it. So I absolutely agree with that. So if you're, so it makes sense to also have an airport close by in case you have to get back home to visit friends and family, like you said, in case of emergency or some other reason. So what about the airports in various countries as far as being able to access them easily and get to them, etc.?
Yeah, basically, the great thing about kind of our modern world, or at least one of the great things, is you have all these travel websites, these travel apps, so flying even internationally these days can be very, very affordable. There's always deals out there. So getting to and from your new country to the United States, or having people come visit you can be very affordable. Basically, in a lot of countries, there's maybe one international airport. It's maybe located in the capital city. I'm thinking of a lot of places in Latin America, for example, or Central America and the Caribbean. Places in Europe have multiple international airports, so it might be very easy to have an international airport close by wherever you happen to live. In some places, you might be in a more rural area, and it could take a bus trip or a train trip to get to that airport. So if being able to fly out at a moment's notice is very important, you might want to check out to see which is the main international airport of the country and be close to that.
Sounds like a plan. Now, one other question. I know we're coming up to the end of the program, and I have some other important questions that I think people will want to hear answers from the expert like Jason. What if you need to generate income while you're living abroad to supplement what you have to spend monthly? What are some options, like online kinds of things? What can you do?
Yeah, basically, you generally can't get a local job because, your residence visa won't allow that. And they don't want you to take a job from a local. But there are options to make money. You could open a local business. Maybe you're a scuba diver. You could open up a dive shop, somewhere in the Caribbean. If you've always wanted to open a coffee shop, you could do that. Generally, the startup costs are going to be lower than the U.S., but they are still going to be significant. And like with any kind of brick and mortar business, it can be risky and a lot of hard work. So we really recommend that people explore options in working online in some way. And I'm not talking about, you don't have to be a computer programmer or some sort of technical wizard, to make that work. You can be a freelance writer or a freelance editor, proofreader. You could do graphic design. You could be a virtual assistant, which is basically helping a business person or somebody, manage their online life. You could schedule appointments for them, set up phone calls for them, do sales calls, that sort of thing. A big one that I've seen a lot of people do in the last couple of years is teaching English. And of course, there's always teaching English in person, but the new opportunity is teaching English online, specifically to kids in China, believe it or not. So basically, you work for a company, they set you up with a platform. All you have to do is log on. It's a video conferencing system, and there's a Chinese kid on the other end. You follow the curriculum step by step and, do that for a few hours a day, and you can make, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month doing that. So
I love
that can
it.
be an option.
I love that. I would do that. That sounds really interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I have friends who do it, and they have so much fun doing it. The kids are very engaged.
Well, you something meaningful. Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just, one thing I know is going to come up as a question, and you'll be the person to answer this. Let's say somebody has decided that, okay, I want to retire to this specific spot. What recommendations can you give listeners on moving their belongings to a foreign country if they're not renting, they're going to buy a place? How much should they take with them? How do they get it there? What can they leave behind and buy in the new country? That kind of thing. Obviously, they don't need winter coats in the tropics, but, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of a personal preference thing, and it's part of that profiling yourself. You really got to take stock, look around your house. What do you really need? What could you leave behind? What's not going to be appropriate, for this new location? Like you said, no winter coats in the tropics. You probably don't want to bring your business suits when you're retired and you're living, in the Caribbean or in Europe or something somewhere. But maybe you do have a certain collection or family heirlooms that you really want. So that's something you might want to take. Electronics are generally more expensive abroad. So you might want to bring a phone, an iPad, a computer, TV, something like that. But you do have to keep in mind that the cost to ship something overseas can be quite significant. A lot of people like to ship containers, shipping containers full of, their furniture and different items. And that can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. Because there's the actual, there's the actual moving company, the actually putting on a boat or a truck and getting it to this place. But you also have to pay customs duties and taxes to the new country because you are importing items. And, I always say you got to work with a customs broker in the destination country because they know the rules and regulations. They know that they have contacts, and they can help you pay not more than you have to, basically. So that's a big recommendation there.
Well, that's a good point. And I know, we could chat for the rest of the day, but we have to wrap it up, unfortunately. Could you just say how people could connect with you? And I think you should mention your YouTube video as well on the 10 good reasons to retire overseas. I think that would be great. But let people know if they want more information, how they could connect with you directly.
Yeah, so just for good general information on countries around the world and visa requirements and cost of living, medical care, all that good stuff, you can go to www.internationalliving.com. And I'd also invite people to contact me directly at my personal email address, and that's jholland@internationalliving.com. So JHOLLAND@internationalliving.com. I'm always happy to answer questions. Share some of my wisdom and knowledge, I guess. And of course, we're all over Facebook. You can just search for International Living. We have a main page as well as pages for specific countries. And we do have a YouTube channel as well. So just search for International Living for our YouTube channel, and you're going to find all sorts of resources, videos of specific countries and cities and locations, but also, videos about, like you said, 10 good reasons, to go abroad. So lots of online resources, and I look forward to connecting with folks.
Thanks so much, Jason, for joining me today. It's been a real jam-packed 30 minutes, and I know everybody's learned a lot. And thank you so much for being my guest.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully people get a lot out of this.
I think they will. Okay, we're done, Joe.